Hello and welcome to this episode of the Kajiado We Want this Wednesday. Thank you so much for tuning in from wherever you are watching us from. My name is Beatrice Ngunju. I am going to be the moderator today. And allow me to mention about the Kajiado We Want. It is a CBO that focuses on community development matters in the following areas: infrastructure, roads, street lighting and drainage, water and sanitation, health and drug abuse, education and literacy, environment, waste management, land use and climate change, trade industry and job creation, advocacy for youth, women and children, security and community policing. We aim to achieve development in the above area by creating awareness through covering topical issues tackled by an expert every Wednesday on social media handles. We have a YouTube page. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, as well as um, Twitter, Facebook, and the other one is I'll advise you along the way. And so lobbying for government through public participation, memoranda, petitioning, and picketing as a last resort. And lastly, through creating partnerships with individuals, associations, entities, non-governmental organizations. This is not political and does not support any political leader against others, neither is it aimed to support anyone's political ambitions. We work with all leaders, elected and non-elected. So our core values required of the CBO members are volunteerism. So you volunteer to be part of the Kajiado We Want. Commitment is required, integrity, and respect for others. So membership is drawn from all the sub-counties of Kajiado, and you can feel free to engage and participate on matters that bring development to our county. So today on our show, we are going to deal with number 5, which is a very exciting moment: environment, waste management, land use, and climate change. And we'll have a very, very, very interactive session with our guest tonight. But just before we get there, allow me to, I don't get to do this alone. I have a team with me. Please allow me to welcome Evelyn to take a moment and tell us something about Kajiado, probably what has been along the year. We are now 1 year since we began the CBO. And Evelyn, you can take it away and tell us maybe some of the achievements that you have done. And then we'll get straight to the guest of the day. If you can hear me, Evelyn, take it away.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Evelyn Masharia, the Organizing Secretary of the Kajiado We Want. It's a pleasure to be part of this big community of this TBO called the Kajiado We Want. Some of the achievements that we've had is conserving of Ololua Forest. We've been able to plant a number of trees, about 200 trees, and we're still continuing with the project. And apart from planting trees, is also a way of it's a healthy lifestyle where people go and do their walks. Another thing we've had is sensitization, like public participation. We've been attending public barazas, and we've also been informing members, encouraging members to try and attend and see how they can be part of Kajiado in bringing change. Another thing is about information. What we're getting today is information, is learning. We've had quite a number of key speakers who have taken us through, and the talks have been very informative, very enlightening, and people have been able to engage. Those are just a few of the things that we've been able to cover. We are just 1 year old. We are still continuing. Thank you, and back to you, moderator.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much, Evelyn. At least we have had what we have achieved in the year, and looking forward to much more, and especially the growing of the trees on the forests. I mean, those picnics, even walk with our dogs, is always fun to do. So we encourage most of us who are able to do, please come on board and we can take that. And so uh, today I'm really excited because the topic we are doing today is one of the passions that I have, and it cannot get any better with one man who is a celeb, and especially in the recent past we have seen him go live in most of the stations. And we are talking about petroleum from waste to plastic. And I think is quite a topic that I do. Allow me to welcome our guests with over 20 years of experience across Africa, Europe, Asia, Australia, and North America. Oh my goodness. He holds an MBA from Deakin University, Australia. He is a self-taught chemical engineer with a strong passion and interest in green fuels. He is the founder of ProGreen Innovation Limited, and I am so humbled to welcome James Muritu. James, if you can hear me, please unmute yourself and take it away. Going to begin with your story. Perhaps you could tell us who is James and how you have been, where did you grow, and now maybe take us through your company.
Great. For everyone joining today's talk show, habari yenu. How are you? Hope you're all well. I'm James Muritu. I'm very excited to join you tonight. Forgive me for the lighting. Unfortunately, I had another late evening meeting, which went for quite long. And so I only was able to take this call from my car because it's an hour's drive from Nairobi to my house. Well, I'm Kenyan by birth. I also hold an Australian passport. I've spent half of my career life outside Kenya. I've worked and lived in South Africa, Nigeria, Australia, UK, US. I've actually traveled to over 30 countries across all the continents of the world. I came back to Kenya in 2012 and I settled in Murang'a County. By training, I did information technology, specifically around software engineering. So for all the countries that I have traveled to, my mandate was to work with international companies to design software systems, hardware systems. So my mindset, things like an engineer. When I came back to Kenya, of course, I got employment. I worked for quite a number of blue chip companies. I've worked for Jubilee Insurance as their head of technology. I've worked for Vivo Energy as well, who is part of the Shell Group as a program manager. So I'm happy to say that I've been exposed to quite a number of multinational companies. But 2 years ago, actually, I started exploring new opportunities. As you all realize, after you stick in your career for many years, it reaches a time where you feel you want to be challenged more. And I decided the way to challenge myself is to go back to my analytical mind. And I really got an interest around waste management and everything around chemistry. So in my backyard, where I have my own makeshift laboratory, I actually began multiple experiments. One of the experiments I did was recovery of waste aluminium from aluminium cans. So I used to smelt that as a hobby, and then I will sell it away to factories in Nairobi just to get some side hustle money. But I started getting an interest in plastic when we used to go collect the waste aluminium materials. We'll always end up with a lot of plastic. Actually, there is more plastic in the dump sites than anything else. What you get is plastic and then biodegradable material. I'm talking about waste organic matter. Those are the two big waste materials that I came across. And so by sheer accident, some of the plastics will get into my furnace and then it will start melting. And that melting process is what got my curiosity. And I should say that even before I began my research around aluminium, there is a first research that I started around doing Calbro blocks. So I tried Calbro blocks with the molten aluminium. Actually, I have a few Calbro blocks that I did. I also tried doing poles. At one time, I even tried doing mabati, from waste plastic. That did not excite me, so I shelved that research project, and I decided, well, let me see if I can get some fuel from this. So I did quite a lot of reading, overnight reading, overnight research, and I'm happy to say that I did my first experiment exactly a year ago with my makeshift machinery. I actually did that myself. I'm not very good with mechanical. That's not my forte. But I managed to put something together, put around 30 kgs of waste plastic, and I was able to get my first sample of crude oil. That really got excited. It really excited me when the liquid became flammable, because I lighted it up, and when it was flammable, that really got me excited. And so I went around shopping for a seasoned mechanical engineer who could do the machine for me. So he came to site and we put it together. He did for me that, and then he went back and I was left alone. So I had to hire a few people, a few extra hands now who could help me get into the research bit of it, because having the machinery is one thing, but getting outputs from that machinery, that's where the rubber hits the road. Let me say that I spend a lot of weeks, a lot of months, endless nights trying out different kind of materials. But sometime in May, actually it was sometime in May, when I started getting some good results. So nobody was ready to test the fuel on their machinery. So I had to do another investment around buying my own machinery. So I invested in the first start was petrol machinery, so power saws, generators, chaff cutters. So I actually ended up buying up to 5 machines, all sitting in my backyard. And my wife was looking at me and saying, "James, are you okay? You're putting all our money here into machinery. What do you want to do?" But that's what really helped me, because I'll produce a fuel, put in one machinery, I see how it behaves. I call a mechanic, I ask him to look at it. I get bad results, I try again. So it was purely experimental with a research approach. You take a sample, try it out, see how the machine behaves, over and over and over again, until I was able to perfect it. And so sometime in May, late May, I went to a conference in Nairobi. Actually, it was Environmental Day, which was hosted in Nairobi, KICC. I carried my machinery and my fuel, and I presented to the team there, and that started getting people's attention. So the UNEP team was there, and they saw how the machines were behaving. They were very excited. They came to site exactly 2 weeks after that conference. They took me through the motion of doing an actual production and putting the fuel into the machines, test the machines. And if you go to my YouTube channel and TikTok channel, you'll actually see the video that UNEP did on me. And that really helped to spread the story. So after that, I ended up looking around for more users who are willing to sample. And I looked around my neighborhood. I got the first guy. He actually had a power saw machine. He was just a small-time timber yard guy who earns a living from cutting wood. And I gave him 1 liter. It worked. The following day, he asked for another liter. It worked. The machine was still behaving. The following week, he came back for 5 liters. And since then, he has never gone back to a fuel station. He makes use of my fuel. So he told his friends, and his friends told his friends. I've never marketed it. I've never gone commercial. But I have all these people who refer to each other. He referred one farmer who had issues irrigating his farm because fuel was too expensive. And he had even stopped irrigating because he couldn't afford fuel. And the farmer came and bought 5 liters, tried it out, it worked. And the farmer told another farmer. So in total, I have around 15 users. Half of them, they're actually farmers. And I love farmers because a farmer is actually irrigating his farm. He's getting food that will feed somebody else, and he'll also get an income from it. So I have a pool of farmers in Thika, Moranga, and also I have a big farmer somewhere in Muritu. They've been very instrumental in terms of validating the product, validating the fuel, and just giving me feedback around how it works. Let me say that I decided to take a deep dive into researching around diesel. Actually, my initial research was on diesel. It failed terribly. All my tests around diesel were very unsuccessful. But a month ago, I got more energized, and I decided I have to crack this. So the results after 2 weeks were very, very, very good, actually. And the first machine that I tested with was my diesel engine. So I have a diesel generator at home that is used to power my borehole. And it worked. I couldn't believe that because this is a heavy-duty diesel generator, 25 kVA, very heavy duty. So when that worked, I ended up buying a second machine, which is a cement mixer, and that's what I've connected with my shredder. Again, it worked. So I got more confident, and I said, well, maybe it's time I now use the fuel in my car, and that's a car that I'm in right now. I'm actually taking this video from this car, and this car uses that fuel. I've been using this fuel now on this vehicle for, actually, let me say, close to a month and few weeks. So far, so good. I move up with the car around without any issues. So when the same farmers heard about the story, they came back and said, hey, James, can you also supply the diesel to us? So I said, yes, no problem at all. So I have at least around, I think, 3 or 4 farmers who use the diesel for irrigating their farms. The other step I took was to take the sample fuel to testing laboratories. I took to KEBS, and also I took to one testing organization that's based in Mombasa. And the results that came back really astounded me. I mean, they took me by surprise because, one, the sulfur content was extremely low. So for diesel, what makes diesel really smoke is what we refer to as sulfur. And if you go to Europe or Asia, they actually have premium diesel that goes for a higher price because the sulfur content is low. So the results were that the sulfur is lower. The second surprise was that the ash content was also lower compared to the conventional fuel. So that really got me excited because the farmers used to tell me, James, we are seeing less smoke here. What have you done? I told them, I really don't know. But the results came back very excitedly, and it's been an interesting journey, guys. And what excites me is that with this solution, I'm actually not recycling. I don't like to use the word recycling because when you recycle, you're actually not solving the problem. You're just creating a product that ends back to the environment. So what we do is to recover. When you recover, that product will never go back to the environment. It's completely incinerated. All the value from it is extracted, and nothing goes back to the environment. So that's what really excites me. And like recycling, which will help the environment to some extent, yes, but unfortunately, the output of it will still go back to the environment. So it's a very exciting journey for me. I've published a journal. I've done a research paper. It should be published. I'm actually looking for an international journal to publish the paper. So I should be doing that again in the next few weeks, and the journal will be publicly available globally. So as soon as that is in place, I will share that with all of you so that you can all see the output of that research and what we went through. I think let me pause there. I hope I've spoken enough and I've given as much info as the team will have liked. Back to you, Beatrice. Back to you, Beatrice.
Evelyn?
Oh, it's Evelyn.
Okay, let me just take it up from there. Wow, I love the way you've given your journey. You have a very rich story to tell. And when I met you at KICC, I was really impressed when you told me about the diesel engine. And I really got curious and I was like, can it really work? But I believe in you. And congratulations. And I think you've come at the right time when we are really complaining the fuel is really up. So I don't know how you're working with the government because now the fuel is up. I don't know whether the product is ready for the market. I don't know how. Did you hear me?
Yep. Sorry, I was on mute. Can you hear me now, Evelyn?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Very good question. Let me first say that unlike what people say, we have a very supportive government. Let me first say that. So I've engaged different bodies. The first body I had to engage was NEMA. That was the first step. So NEMA had to undertake what is referred to as an environmental impact assessment. So they had to look at the whole production process. Are there any gases being emitted? Is there any pollution? So I'm happy to say that actually last month is when I got issued with an environmental impact assessment permit, and I was given a 12-month license to pursue the production. The next body was KEBS. So I've also, actually KEBS came to site themselves, so just to look at the whole production process. So in a week or so, I should be starting certification exercise with KEBS. I've also engaged IPRA, and I should say, yeah, the journey goes on. I'm hoping to have a formal launch by December of this year. Yeah, late this year. That's the time frame that I'm working with. Evelyn, back to you.
Oh, sorry. Okay. The next question goes just around what you've explained. I believe most countries right now, plastic is, I mean, they say it's hazardous. So I don't know how you're working with the international bodies on this, because I know you might find some people against what you're doing.
Very good question. I think the only international body I've engaged so far is UNEP. So the team that came from UNEP actually is a plastics team. These are specialists in plastics pollution. They had to look at my process and just to see, are there any emissions going out there? Am I polluting the environment in any way? And let me say that they were very impressed. First of all, let me say that the production process happens in an oxygen-free environment. So what you mean by an oxygen-free environment is that when the plastic goes into what I refer to as a reactor, there are no emissions that go out to the atmosphere. There are actually two byproducts that come out of this process. The first byproduct is what we refer to as syngas. So syngas is gas, which has a mix of hydrogen, carbon dioxide, and carbon monoxide. So that gas doesn't go back to the atmosphere. If you look at my system, that gas is fed back to the furnace. So it actually burns out and remains in the furnace. The second byproduct is what we refer to as black char. So black char is a black substance that remains when the plastic is burnt. Again, we make use of that to make fuel that is returned back to the furnace in the next production cycle. So I'm happy to inform you that there's actually nothing being emitted back to the environment. Everything remains wherever it is. And that's why I'm referring to it as a recovery process vis-a-vis a recycling process.
Maybe the next question before I hand over to Beatrice is we love shortcuts. We have seen your hard work, but I know right now there are some people who are busy trying to copy what you're doing. So how can you partner with groups like the youth, like women's group, instead of people stealing your hard labor, your sweat? How can you work together?
Great. First of all, let me say that replicating the idea, it's not a walk in the park. It will take somebody quite some time, quite some resources. I've spent not thousands of shillings, but millions. So it's very expensive. Secondly, you need to have a very analytical mind. So can I request first we turn off the video so that my phone doesn't die off? Is that okay? If we can turn off my video. I hope that's okay with you. Good. Okay. Let me see. Let me click stop so that I can stop sharing. Okay, great. So that my phone doesn't die off me. So so in terms of how we can help and work with people, that's something I've actually discussed with my team, and it's something we are thinking. Because if you think about it, we can actually partner with a group, and we get land, we bring a machine there, and your work becomes to collect the plastic, and we agree on a revenue model. So it's something I've thought about. It's an opportunity that we can think about. And beyond the fuel, there are other things that we produce, all from waste. You've not seen me talk about that in my interviews, but in total, I have approximately 5 very unique products, all from waste materials. So there's an opportunity, yes, to partner with women groups, with youth groups. We train you, we bring the machinery that will all be made in Kenya. We agree on a working model. You do manufacturing there, and we just agree. So that is something that I've thought very hard, and I believe there's an opportunity. There's a question that has been put there, whether this has been patented. Yes, I've submitted my patenting documents with KIPI, and that patenting process is in place. We also have a trademark for the product. When we launch it in December, you'll see the name that we are using. So we have a very unique name for it. That is trademarked as well with KIPI. So that is something I've meticulously spent time to ensure has been done. Back to you, Evelyn.
Okay. Beatrice, you can go ahead. Over to you. Beatrice, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Evelyn, please proceed.
now? James, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yep. You have
Yeah.
another question? You want to
Yeah.
repeat?
What next? 5 years from now?
Yeah, 5 years from now, I'm very excited actually. That's a question that everybody has asked me. What next, and where do I foresee myself in 5 years? Well, in 5 years, I foresee myself being not just in one site. In Kenya, I'm looking at a minimum 8 sites, actually 5 to 8 sites, which will be spread out across all the major towns in Kenya, where we have a lot of waste. But at the same time, we are looking at a presence across 7 to 10 African countries where we'll replicate this model. We're also looking at, within 5 years, having a product line of 5 stable products, all from waste materials. I want to insist that. And if you look at my website and my talks, I always talk about waste materials because I'm seeing an opportunity beyond plastic. There is an opportunity around waste paper. We have an opportunity around waste biodegradable material. It's not just plastic. There's an opportunity all over. And so within 5 years, I'm looking at my company being the number one and leading and award winning refuse derived fuel manufacturer, not just in Kenya, but across Africa. Evelyn, back to you.
Beatrice, you can go ahead now. You have a question? Okay, maybe another question is, do you do like mentorships to the youth? Because our youth don't want, we have this, I don't want to call it a microwave. People want quick results. From your journey, what you've shared, it's not something that you did overnight. How can you mentor youth other than recycle, other than the fuel? How can you mentor them to come up with innovations?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, that's something I do. Maybe I didn't mention. I was raised in a very messy background. I grew up in Eastlands, very rough area, where there's a lot of bangi, drugs. Our family, we still have a council house there, so I still go there once in a while. Kikomba area. What saved me is that I went to school in Starehe Boys when Starehe was the number one school in Kenya, and Griffin was my head teacher. So he did a lot of mentoring. And if there's something Griffin taught me, was pass on that knowledge to somebody else. So mentoring is something that I do quite often. The late Mr. Griffin, may he rest in peace, did a lot of mentorship for me. He actually paid for all my education. So I always say, if it's not for the mentorship I got at Starehe Boys Center, I'll not be here today. So they paid for all my high school education, they mentored me, and they let me go to the market, and the rest I did for myself. But I agree with you, mentorship is a critical part of any young man and young woman, and that's what we are really lacking in this country. Yeah, so that's something I do, and I'll be more than willing to mentor.
Okay, thank you very much. And are you getting support from the government? Maybe like tax reduction, or are you getting any help?
To be honest, no. For now, the only help I'm getting is just getting compliance. So I spoke about KEBS, I spoke about KIPRA, IPRA, I spoke about NEMA. So for now, it's just from a compliance angle, just being told what I need to do, but not funding. I mean, funding is still all from my pocket. Yeah. Any more questions from the team?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Maybe you can share your contacts or how somebody can reach you.
Yeah, well, my email is james.muritu@gmail.com. My number is 0700-182-377. Yeah, and if you want to follow my work, I'm quite big on TikTok. So if you go to TikTok, the handle is ProGreen Innovations. So all the work we do, all the case studies, you'll find them there on TikTok and also YouTube. If you go to YouTube, our channel is ProGreen Innovations.
Okay. There's a question. What's the current price per liter for the fuel that you're producing?
The fuel is not being commercially sold, so I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk about pricing. That I don't want to insinuate that this product is being sold commercially in any way.
Okay. Maybe as I think there are no more questions. Maybe as a parting shot, what else would you like to say? Maybe something that you've not mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'll say is to encourage you all to think about. I like to call it a production mentality. Kenya, we are so consumed with a consumerism mentality. And there's a big difference between production and consumerism. When we consume, we end up importing. Everything gets imported. We lose faith in ourselves, and we believe every single thing we have to use has to be imported. And that's why even a small thing as toothpick gets imported to our country. I think it's time we transition to having a production mentality. So if you go to a Kiambu, for example, a county like Kiambu, we've taken down all the coffee trees and we've put apartments, we've put houses, and we think it's a good thing. I don't think it's a good thing, because that coffee, if we left it there, it will have earned something for us. On the same token, production has become very expensive for our factories in Kenya, and that's why they are relocating to Ethiopia and Uganda. So all I will urge everyone in this call, what can we do to make Kenyans to be more productive? And we move away from consumerism, and let's produce more locally. And that's what China did almost 50 years ago, and that's why they're here today. So that's what I will encourage all of us to inculcate, to preach, and to practice.
Okay. There's also another question about how will you package? I think maybe it's still on the initial stage. How will you package the fuel?
Very good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I need to mention that the fuel will not be dispensed. Let me say that. I don't want to go the traditional route. Please wait for that time when I launch it, but definitely I don't intend to go the traditional conventional route of selling fuel. When that time reaches, you'll definitely get to know. But we are not going to dispense, as is currently happening in the gas stations.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Taking back to the moderator, Beatrice, if she has a question and to give a vote of thanks. Beatrice? Beatrice, are you there? I think Beatrice, can you hear me? You're muted.
Now, can you?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. G. And I need to pretty much of the discussion. I think my connection just went off. So
I think Beatrice has a problem with her internet. James, I don't know how to tell you thank you. I know I called you in a very short time and you agreed to do the talk this today. I think it was on Sunday when I approached you. And we've been in communication, and I know this is just the beginning. And I wish you all the best as you produce the fuel. We are really waiting for it. I want to say again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And yeah, thank you very, very much. Thank you for your prayers, your good wishes.
Yeah.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. I know we'll be in communication and we see how we can work together with the Kajiado We Want. And you never know, we might even have what do you call it? We might have land where we can do the oil with you. We can partner with you.
That's okay.
Yeah, we look forward to that. I just want to say thank you for all who have tuned in. It was a great conversation, and I request each and everyone, if you've not subscribed to the Kajiado We Want, please do so. We have every Wednesday, we have very interesting topics, so don't be left out. And with that, I want to say thank you so much and see you next Wednesday. Kwaherini. Thank you so much, James.
Okay, bye. Asanteni.
Okay, bye.
Evelyn